Hey guys, today we're going to focus on widget switchers, and it's going to be another episode where I demonstrate the results first, and that is because I ran into some issues. Big surprise. Um, and you're going to see some sneak peeks into the next episode because the issues that I ran into really required me moving on to another step. So I'm going to focus on widget switchers today. And then I'm also going to highlight some blueprint interface codes that I used. And I'll get into that in a moment. But to begin, let's demonstrate what we're going to look at. Clicking play. And what I did was set up widget switchers for the magic button. Let's go magic. And now I've got a menu here displaying the available magic spells or skills. And if we click on the back button, we return to the action menu. So I have not set up anything in the action item or run, but here we click magic. In the future, we'll be selecting triggers and what happens when you click on a particular magic. But for now, the widget switcher, we've got magic and back working now nicely. So let's cover widget switchers, starting with what is a widget switcher. So a widget switcher is a specialized container that holds multiple UMG widgets and displays only one at a time, allowing you to seamlessly swap between them between blueprints or C++. For dynamic UIs, perfect for creating tabbed interfaces, inventory screens, or changing game states without loading new screens. It works by managing a list or an array of child widgets, and you control which one shows by setting its index, making it easy to build complex UIs that look like one cohesive system. So that's what we've got going on. It's the first time I've built it and used it, and I like it. And I'm going to cover blueprint interfaces because in the tutorials that I've watched so far, it's mostly done by setting a key to switch the widgets, like pushing F or pushing A or pushing D. And from a tutorial perspective, it works. But from what I found and what I envision is I think the blueprint interface way is more practical. So we're going to get into that. Let's start with the widget battle blueprint UI. Sorry, the widget blueprint battle UI. And then what we have here is we're looking at the battle UI, which is our main UI, where all of our buttons and menus feed to. And in the canvas panel is the WS battle UI. WS is our named variable that we set up by dragging in a widget switcher. And the help text here reads, a widget switcher is like a tab control, but without tabs. At most, one widget is visible at a time. So we drag and dropped this into here, and then after that, dragged the widgets that I want to switch into. So our action button menu and our battle magic menu. The battle magic menu I'm going to cover in the next episode, because right now I want to focus on widget switchers. But for the action button menu, we created that already in the series. And then I created a new similar menu, but for battle magic. And next, even in maybe 2 episodes from now, we're going to do something similar for items. I wanted to say that widget switchers are fairly easy to use, but a mistake that I made was I did not plan out or be very strategic of what my end goal was. So for the battle magic menu, in my case, what I wish I did was really create this and understand what I wanted to make before diving in. So for testing purposes for your game, go ahead and put whatever you want. But if you're not just testing and learning and you're really wanting to implement this in a game, then just take a moment to really figure out what you want your next menu to be. So again, the magic menu is going to really be focused on the next episode. Just want to cover what how I set this up here. And if we dive into the graph, I updated the functions to read from set visibility. So the show action menu function, we still keep the set visibility, but now we add the widget switcher variable, dragged it out from here, and then we set active widget index to 0, because what that means is in the designer tab from the WS Battle UI, this type of container has what's called an active widget index, which you can switch between 0 and 1. I guess it's not working now. Anyway, let me just scroll to show. So this is the default, like this is the active widget index. If I scroll down, it stays, this being index 0. But if I scroll down again, it's going to show that what's the view of the Battle Magic menu. So essentially we're toggling between these at the moment. And then I'm going to have another item one down below. So for show action menu function, we drag this off and then we set the active widget to index 0. If we want a function to hide it, this is going to remain set visibility to collapsed. To show the magic function, I created this show magic menu function. This is new for this episode. We dragged out the WS Battle UI again, the Widget Switcher Battle UI. We set the active widget index to 1 because that's what we want to do. We want to show the magic menu. And then we create a new magic menu variable that I'll cover in the next episode, and call a function from there to build the magic menu. And I'm going to cover that in the next episode. And then lastly, the previous button is a new function called previous button with the action menu button selected, set visibility to visible, and then the set active widget index back to 0. So I have a previous button function for my own sanity. If I toggle between this and show action menu function, I think they're going to be actually identical, because what's essentially happening is we're showing the action menu function, meaning basically the action button menu. So that was it for the Battle UI. As far as the widget switcher goes, what I had to do is create a magic button. Initially, I thought I could store all of the magic buttons in the action buttons, but it turns out to get the results that I wanted, I had to create a separate button for magic, and I'm going to do so again for item as well. I think it just runs a little bit cleaner. If you have any feedback on that, let me know. But I can have some separation. And basically what this does is I had to create another enumerator. Let's go to it. I forgot about that. So let's go to our blueprints, our enum battle magic menu. So I gave all kinds of magics, fire, blizzard, thunder, poison, and then the level 2 of that. So I created a new enumerator, which is what we're seeing here. So from the enumerator, ChatGPT helped me with this, but it's a nice trick. We convert the enum to a string and then convert it. So we did these two. So I grabbed the enumerator magic button with our battle magic menu variable with the instance editable and expose on spawn clicked. And then I grabbed the button text from this button. And then I did a set text. And then from the enum string to set text and then event preconstruct so that I can see what's going on here. So that's the result of this. I have set the anchor to the bottom left, but I did not add any padding because the padding is what happens in the main UI. So that's our magic button. Anything else? Okay. Still in the magic button, when the magic button is clicked, I want to send a message BPI. So what I want to do is, or what I did, is I created a new blueprint interface function called magic selected. And this has a enumerator for eBattle magic menu type. Our enumerator. eBattle magic menu. That's this one. So the BPI has one input. And from the action button clicked, so when this button is clicked for the magic button, then the magic will be selected based on the enumerator. Okay. Now where that comes in next is in the battle magic menu. At least for I added a button here that's the previous, or an indicator of a back button. All it is a less than sign. So we added a button with text that has a left-hand sign. And that's what you saw in the widget switcher. When I click that back button, then it toggled between menus. What I'm showing now is going to be in the next episode. And with the previous selected, you'll see that there's no inputs. I think lastly, in our player controller, in order to get the button in the action menu to respond to open or open the next index in the widget switcher, in the player controller, we did an event action selected. So let's find the message that calls that. It says, so this symbol means it's a blueprint interface and it's calling an event from the BPI action button. So in the BPI action button, I did action selected, which is this one. And it has an enum, but for the battle action type. Then we added a switch because the battle action or the action menu has attack, magic, item, and run. But right now we're working on magic, so we drag out from magic with a battle UI reference. We do an is valid check and then show the magic menu function from our main blueprint. So what that means is, in simple as possible terms, let me get to this in a moment. Basically, when the action button is selected, we switch the type, and then I'm sorry, I got a little lost there. So let me start over from the third player controller. When an event action is selected with this icon, it means there's a message with a message symbol in another blueprint. So this is finding that message and firing off something from there. And in our case, when the action button is clicked, we have to have this get owning player as the target. And then we send a message. We say, hey, when the button is clicked, we're sending a message to any other blueprint that needs something to happen. So when our action menu button is clicked, we're sending out a message for anybody who's listening, do something. And in our case, in the player controller, what we want to happen is if the magic button is selected, then we want to show the magic menu function. So let's double click this, and this is what we're going to cover a little bit in the next episode as well. This is what we're talking about now. This is the widget switcher. So the widget switcher is then selected, which looks like this. Bar gets full, click magic. This menu displays because we have the action menu button. In this case, the magic button is selected. When the action button is clicked, then a blueprint interface action selected is sending out a message, and our third person controller then has that implemented event, and it sends or it executes the show magic menu function. That's exactly what's happening. And then the back button is something similar. For the back button or the previous button, it's a magic menu button. So for here in the magic menu button, we have that on clicked. It's very similar for the action button, but on this one, when the magic button is selected, it has to come from the owning player to the target, and then we have a new message blueprint interface for magic selected. So in our BPI, we created a magic selected function. And then in the player controller, we have our implemented our interface event, which is looking for something called previous selected. And then it's going to give us the previous result. So where did we store this? Not this one. Basically, when that previous button function, I'm sorry, let's go to, where's the magic button? When the previous button is clicked, no, is it here? I think it's here. Yeah. Magic selected. Okay, yeah, it's because the previous arrow is currently in the magic menu. So when the magic, oh, here it is, I'm sorry. So on clicked our previous page. So our previous page button, when that's clicked, we get the owning player, and then we send out our message again to anybody that's listening. Do the function, whatever is needed. And wherever that function is needed is in our player controller. So we say event previous selected. When that button is clicked, run the function previous button function, which is here. And then earlier in this episode, we talked about how this is actually duplicate to show action menu. So you can see why that was a little more in depth than some of the tutorials, even though I totally learned this from the tutorials a little bit talking with ChatGPT. It's not always as simple as, for practical use cases, setting up a button or a key. Like, for instance, clicking the 1 key or the Z key or anything like that to switch between the widgets, because really what you want is something functional. So what I have found is to use blueprint interface is most helpful. Basically, you need to create a BPI function. You need to find whatever button you want to click on. Then grab a get owning player node with the target. Then you send a message for whatever BPI function you created. And then in the third player controller, you can implement the event, the interface event, which is going to be the same name as the message that you sent out. And then you drag, and run whatever function you had set up. In our case, it was in our master, or our highest, our main UI. So that's it for today. Head over to our Discord if you want to have an in-depth discussion on this topic. And hopefully this was helpful to anybody. Thank you. Bye.